Hello everybody, John here, and today onto the garage we're doing a fuel filter challenge on BLU, the Jaguar X358 Diesel. There she is. Fuel filter changes are really important on diesels and again quite often neglected, which is silly because quite easy to do on most cars. On this car it's literally here. On sister cars such as Land Rovers, Discoverers, Range Rovers, etc., that might use a similar engine, ironically it's down low and actually is a bit more tricky to get at. On the Jag it's easy, makes a change. Okay, so getting this wrong is actually quite difficult, but that doesn't mean you can't. My first tip, before you start, take a picture of the top of the filter so you can see the pipes. Then, although they are colour coded and there are other devices on it, which means it should be difficult to get these things wrong, pick a position. This is my 12 o'clock position, if you like, and that has just become number 1. That has become number 2. That has become number 3, and that has become number 4. And that's just a chalk marker sort of thing you use in pubs to write the menu on a board. Quite a useful thing to have around you. And again, quick picture helps loads. So now we have no fear of putting this back together wrong. Next thing we're going to do is release the various pipes from the top of the filter housing, and they should all be just a squeeze release type fitment. But because they don't get done as often as they should, you know, it can be that they're a bit stiff, tricksy. So I'm going to start with number 4 because he's closest to us, and just squeeze the button in. There's one either side and lift, and off she comes. And number 3, I've already smudged my own chalk markings. It's getting your fingers in can be tricksy, so actually I'm going to switch to number 2 just to give myself more space. No, yeah, it literally is just an access issue for your fingers. Ah, come on. Right, switch to another one. Make some space. My fingers aren't small enough, basically. I'm going to get something to act as a prodder. I'm going to use a Allen key just to get down behind the connector to squeeze, because I can't get my fingers in. Ah. I'm glad we did one easily first, so you know that these are supposed to be easy. There we go, managed. Losing a little bit of fluid. Not enough to make me worry about it. Now, I should be able to get this one. There we go. And we're off. Leaving one to go. There we go. And that's all 4 connectors off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next we need to undo this clamping bolt, which I believe is a 7 or an 8. Well, we know this is definitely not the original because there's some insulating tape wrapped around the top of it. to help the clamp tighten, which is interesting. Shouldn't really need that. And it's a good brand. It's a MAN, as in MANN. Service kit on these things, air filters, oil filters, etc., can be MAN. Okay, so she's loose. The only challenge is getting this thing round, then rotate it. Yep. To get the connector out of the way. The fuel pipes are actually quite stiff. There's only this one at the back which is actually giving me any grief. There we go, come on. And she's out. On fuel filter. And in terms of orientation, that's at the top, it's my number one. But the easiest thing is there's a whole one pipe that looks blind. It's actually got a very small jet in it. That goes to the right. Okay, so here we are with the old filter. I'm just doing a quick glove change. Although I have the right filter ordered from the right sort of places, etc., it's always worth, before you proceed too far, doing a little comparison of the pipes, just in case you've got a wrong unit before you start struggling away. And as you can see, we have exactly the right arrangement. Now, the reason that the fuel filter is so important on a diesel is it has generally got a water trap incorporated into it, but despite it being there and being important, is rarely used. Dealers don't even seem to do much with these things, from my experience. And what this does, it basically relies on the fact that the fuel is oil-based, is in this container as part of its filtration. Any water is going to fall to the bottom. If we undo this black plastic piece at the bottom, then out comes the fuel, and if you had water trapped in there as well, that would come out as well. I'm going to empty this out properly, not because I want this filter or I want this fuel, I'm not that tight, just because I'm interested to see how much, if any, water there is in it. And again, the beauty of water and oil is they don't mix, so they will separate out. There we go. So that's our bleed knob taken out, and we'll set this aside to have a look at later and just see if there was any water in our fuel system. Cardboard ring means I can stand it up. Now we've got our brand new one, and there's a step to doing this job well, but again gets missed, which is you really should fill the fuel filter with diesel so that you introduce as little air as possible into the system whilst doing this job. Airlock is the enemy of diesel engines. They're really difficult to start if you get air in the system. So my recommendation is put some tape around these outlets. It does not have to be perfect because it's literally going to stop on 5 minutes, and if it just slows the fuel coming out, that's more than adequate for the job you're going to do. My jug, use the pipes to balance it. For anybody panics, I know this is a green can, and therefore in the UK would usually contain unleaded fuel. It does contain diesel. Just clean up a little bit of that spilt. Diesel can be a bit stinky. Whereas petrol smells stronger, it evaporates off quickly. Diesel's less strong, but can linger, so you don't want to get too much on you. Okay, so we are set up. Now, we're going to see if we can pour it into there. For any of you who are interested, fuel filter holds 400 millilitres of diesel. So if you get anything approaching that in, you've done a good job. Should really find myself a teeny tiny funnel for this. The majority of that fuel has gone in. Put the bottom on, turn it the right way up, pull the bits of tape off. Okay, and we just put a little splash in from the top. The pipe has got an arrow pointing to it, is the fuel inlet, and if you pour into that one, you can see the one with the tiny hole venting air. There we go. And I'm happy with that. Now, just going to clean the thing up and get rid of most of the diesel that's on it. It's at this stage our picture becomes really useful. So the pipe with the what looks like a blind top towards me, in this orientation anyway, we just position the filter above this, manoeuvre the pipes out of the way best as we can, and slide it in. And we're in, finally. Okay, so I'm going to keep it loose for ease of fitting the pipes. I'm going to do this tricksy back one first. Number 1 in my numbering system. There we go. Pushed home, heard a good click. That's good. Pulls up, won't come off. Then number 2, the blind pipe. There we go. Then number 3, I am just going to check my picture. I'm sure it's the middle pipe. Number 3 is the middle pipe, the big one. There we go. And number 4, the bottom pipe. There we go. So, all nicely home. Now, I'm going to do up the clamp again. And that's got it. Now what we want to do is put your key in the ignition, turn it till the ignition's on, which will allow the pumps to start. Come around here, check that fuel is not going everywhere, which it's not. And then, after it's been on for about 10 seconds, turn it back off. Oops. Get back in, turn my radio off, and we're going to just cycle through 10 seconds on, 10 seconds off a few times. And with this system of running the pump, letting it sit, running the pump, letting it sit, what we're doing is forcing any air to go back to the tank. And it's by far from being a perfect method, but for something like changing the fuel filter, where you're not actually losing a lot of fuel, as long as you've topped up that filter, you shouldn't have any misfires and misstarts when you do come to start the car. So, nice clean job. Car started first turn, no issues. So that's the fuel filter done. Started up first turn, no hesitations. I've not heard any misfires or anything else, so it's gone well. One of the things I'm doing with BLU is I'm creating my own service history. So she's too old and the value's too low for me to take her into a main dealer to get serviced, because 2 or 3 visits and I've paid for a new car. So I'll be doing my own, despite the fact that she's got no service history. I'm going to create it myself. And if you go to www.tothegarage.co.uk and follow the link at the top to the XK8 Bible and other useful documents, you'll find all manner of useful stuff in there. And we're going to start including some stuff for the XJ as well. But if you've got an XK8, do exactly the same thing. You can print off the service docs to do your own servicing. And again, you're signing them to say that you did it. If you haven't got a stamp, you're not a main dealer. Everybody knows that, but it's so much better than carrying out work on your car and it never forming part of the service history. Why not complete one of those documents, put your name and address on it, you genuinely did the job, and that's no issue. So, service history is starting to come back. See you again real soon on To The Garage.